What's up, guys? It's Adam from Don't Talk Loud, and this week I watched Cloud Atlas, starring Tom Hanks and Halle Berry, and is a directorial collaborative effort between the Wachowskis and Tom Tykwer. We all know the Wachowskis for the Matrix trilogy and Speed Racer, and as well for producing and co-writing V for Vendetta. Tom Tykwer, most known for his 1999 international hit Run Lola Run, also directed the films The International, starring Clive Owen and Naomi Watts, as well as the love triangle drama 3. What did I think of Cloud Atlas? I thought it was a good film. I thought it was well made. I thought it was epic. I thought it was ambitious, and I really thought that it worked on a very grandiose scale. It told 6 stories that necessarily didn't connect by plot, but connected by theme and idea. And I thought it was well written. I thought it was well edited and well constructed. My main issue was really a lack of balance in the quality of the stories. When you have 6 stories to follow, not all of them are going to be good. The ones that were good were great, and the ones that I didn't care much for weren't terrible or never felt like a waste of time, but I didn't find myself as invested as the ones I liked. What are the 6 stories? Let me start with the first one, which is set sometime around the late 1700s, early 1800s, and involves the friendship between a white sailor and a black runaway slave, pretty much on a boat. It's very well done, it's got a very villainous Tom Hanks present, and I really like the way it's put together. The second story, set in 1936, is actually more of a relationship drama, clearly directed by Tom Tykwer. It tells the story of a man who writes music, a composer as you would call him, and the relationship he has with another man that he keeps secret, at the same time having a relationship with the wife of the man he's writing the piece of music for. So, in a lot of ways, Tom Tykwer does kind of visit the love triangle idea he used in 3. Overall, I actually thought that was the best story in the film, just because I found myself most invested in it, because it felt like a universal love story. It also had a very epic scale of production quality in the costumes, the set design, but the music and the camera work was what really stole it, and the way they actually worked together. Tom Hanks also makes a very small appearance in this story, and he's very fun to watch in the moments he has on screen. The third story is set in 1973. It involves Halle Berry playing a journalist who holds a very dark secret, and she finds herself running away from very powerful men who want her dead. The next story, set in modern-day 2012 London, tells a story of an elder publicist who gets in trouble with the mob owing them £50,000, and in the end, decides to hide out in a retirement home, only realizing that he can't escape. And the film goes away from being him running away from the mob with a debt on his shoulders to an epic escape he makes from this very, very interesting and very cruel retirement home. The next story we see is set in 2024 Korea, in the future of course, and it's in a place called Neo-Seoul, which is the name that Seoul has been dubbed at that period of time. It talks a lot about what you would call a social servant of sorts. She lives her daily life, kind of like a human android, you might say. She lives a very robotic life. She's a slave to society, and soon discovers that her people are being harvested for food. What does she do? She breaks out and she sets out to expose the truth. The last story the film chronicles is set distantly into the future, probably even 1,000 years into the future. And it stars Tom Hanks, Halle Berry, and even features Susan Sarandon. It tells the story of a very futuristic tribe in a very Mad Max-like era trying to evade and run away from savages who come and destroy villages. So the film as a whole doesn't necessarily connect its stories together, but more or less kind of brings them together using the theme of life and death. It brings up the idea that when we die, it's the closing of a door and us getting ready to open another. It really focuses on the idea of reincarnation a lot, and that's what I appreciated about it. I don't want to go into too much detail because I pride myself on not spoiling things, but I will say that it's a pretty human sci-fi story. It's well made, I really enjoyed the script, and I thought Tom Tykwer's directed pieces were the best in the film. Tom Tykwer is definitely a filmmaker who has made a great name for himself, and I think in the future could have a lot of opportunity to become a bigger director than he is right now. He's very well celebrated in his home country of Germany, and I think it's time America jump on the idea of noticing this man's talents. I support the Wachowskis. I like their work, and I think The Matrix is one of the most innovative films of its time. I liked aspects of its sequel, The Matrix Reloaded, but I despise the third installment known as The Matrix Revolutions. Speed Racer was fun and quirky for what it was. It was very slapstick, and I felt it was a very well-made kids film, especially if it was only marketed to kids. But I loved V for Vendetta. I was very surprised that they didn't direct that. James McTeague, the man who actually directed it, did a great job, but I think it was the Wachowskis' script that really sold the film to great lengths. The Wachowskis are talented storytellers. They know how to find an interesting story, introduce it to its audience, and get their audience gripped very quickly, and I felt it was the script of Cloud Atlas from both parties, Tykwer and the Wachowskis, that made it a great film. But, like I said before, it's the lack of balance in the stories that it was telling. The stories you really liked, you found yourself very invested in. The ones you didn't care much for, you felt spent a little too much time on screen. At the end of the day, I'm going to say this film was worth a 7.8 out of 10. It's not a bad film, it's not a waste of time, but like I said, when you have 6 stories to choose from, some you're going to like, some you're not, and you're going to wish the ones you liked would have been focused a lot more on screen. I would recommend the film. It's worth a matinee, and I think it's definitely a good place for the Wachowskis to be in their filmmaking career. People know that they can create visual wonders. Sadly, the film has not done too well in the box office over the last few days, but I'm really hoping word of mouth helps it pick up a bit. I think you should see it. I think the Wachowskis deserve your support, but I think it's Tom Tykwer who really steals the show here. He makes good movies. He tells great stories, but it's the way he constructs all the creative elements of his films that make it great, and I feel that Tom Tykwer's creativity was a huge part in what made Cloud Atlas a great film. I found myself more of a fan of his part of the film. While the Wachowskis did a great job, Tykwer takes the cake. Run Lola Run was an excellent film with fantastic editing and great cinematography, and I really loved the idea how it told you what was going on from different perspectives. The International was a fun little spy thriller. I don't really hold it to great regards as a film, but I would say it's worth a rental. 3, the love triangle film that he most recently made, was pretty comic in its own way, and you can see Tykwer's sense of humor come in and out of Cloud Atlas. Tykwer has a lot of room to grow here in America. I really hope that he gets to stand amongst the ranks of directors like Rian Johnson, Wes Anderson, and even most recently Ben Affleck, who've been making great films in the American film industry. I think Tykwer has a lot of potential to get great gigs, much like young directors are these days. I really look forward to what Tom Tykwer is going to do next in film. I like his movies. I like the way he directs. I like the way he tells his story, but it's all the creative elements that come together in his film that make it so great. He does a lot of that in Cloud Atlas, and I think he does it very well.